You cut your fringe the same way I do mine.
Literally, that happened.
Yeah.
And we learned that fringe is called something else in Canada.
Bangs.
Yes,
Yeah.
bangs.
Bangs.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good day from wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another edition of the Digital Download.
The Digital Download. What's that, Rob?
There we go. The Digital Download is the longest running weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live.
Yeah.
Boom.
Nice.
All right. So on today's episode, we had planned to talk about AI. Specifically, is AI going to kill sales? Unfortunately, our guest could not make it, so we're going to pick up that topic on another day. But fear not, as they say, the show must go on. We are nothing if not flexible. Each of the panelists, having our finger on the pulse of the cultural zeitgeist, and hat tip to my friend Biz Daddy for reminding me of that phrase, is immersed in a variety of business news and insights each day. So we've all brought along a piece of content or two, an idea, something worthy of sharing with you, our audience. And we will also share with you why we believe it's something worth discussing. Before we get into that, though, let's go around the horn and have some introductions. Alex, would you kick us off, please?
I certainly will. Good afternoon, all. Alex Abbott, founder of Sapiro and proud DLA partner of DLA Ignite.
Excellent. Thank you. Tracy, long time no see.
Hey,
Welcome back.
everybody. I'm excited to be back after a couple of weeks off. I'm Tracy Borison, owner and founder of TLB Coaching and Events, where we're all about optimizing sales and marketing processes based on the people who are doing things. And I'm also very, we always use proud, and I always have this problem. My brain, it's like 7 o'clock in the morning for me. So my thesaurus brain isn't on yet, but I'm a partner of DLA Ignite, and I enjoy being one.
Excellent.
Bang tidy partner.
Adam.
Hey, I wonder if that's where the phrase "bang tidy" came from. Bang tidy partner, tidy fringe partner.
Nice.
Okay,
Yes.
here we just make up stuff.
That's right.
Hi, everybody. I'm Adam. I'm co-founder of DLA Ignite. And I'm the only co-founder on here today because the other co-founder is away on holiday, taking in the sights and sounds and, most importantly, food of Tuscany. And he keeps, rather annoyingly, sending, every time they go out for a meal, he keeps sending me a photo of the menu, going, look, this is what we've got a choice of. I've got a sandwich. He's got freshly made pasta with the finest ingredients.
Nice.
Sounds nice.
It is, I believe.
Damn you, Tim Hughes.
Do you think he's listening?
No.
No, he's too busy eating fresh pasta.
Yeah, and who can blame him? Who can blame him?
And myself, I am Rob Durant, founder of Flywheel Results. We help startups scale. And I, too, am a proud, and yes, I use that word, proud partner of DLA Ignite. So as I said, this week, we are going to share with you different things that have caught our attention and share with you why we believe they're share worthy. Who wants to kick us off?
I don't mind.
Alex, please.
So on the run up to this show, given that the topic was originally, will AI kill sales? That's kind of where my thought process was going. So I was reading a lot of stuff about how AI won't kill sales and how AI will actually help salespeople work more efficiently. But it then got me thinking that, and this is a bit of a theory, so bear with me, right? So we often try and be buyer centric when it comes to sales, thinking about the buyer and the problems they're trying to solve and adjusting the sales motion to be aligned to that. What if AI was actually helping buyers discover their own problems? So, problem assessing, gap analysis, whatever type of problem identification might be. But then the AI can calculate the cost to the business of not solving the problem. It could calculate the value of solving the problem. It could also identify the risks and help prioritize how quickly that problem could be solved. I mean, it could even fix the problem, with generative AI and asking the AI commands to create software that actually fixes the problem they had. So, sort of got me thinking that, if a lot of these problems, brands or people within these brands can fix these problems, then it doesn't necessarily kill salespeople, but it then emphasizes the importance of relationships and experience, and relationship and experience, the experience the salesperson provides to a business, whatever it is that they're selling them, may not be tech now, that is the differentiator.
Is it? So the reason I pose that question is that when I was at school, computers started to be taught as a subject in school. So we had computer studies, and we would learn to program in BASIC, which lived up to its name. It was a fairly basic language, but it was quite easy to program in. And the phrase, I believe, was coined from that: garbage in, garbage out. And that's always been the case. Anything where processes that happen after an initial process or thing happen, the thing that comes out is dependent on how good the thing that goes in is. So that's true of computers, it's true of data processing, it's true of hi-fi, it's true of everything. If you start with something which is poor, what comes out at the other end is something which is poor. And I think that the challenge that we face is that often the people who are doing the program, setting the agenda, deciding the rules, don't actually understand what the problem is, or don't understand what the solution to the problem is. So if you port that line of reasoning into Marcoms, the solution is to send more emails, because you get a lower yield from each of your emails. And that's true up until a point. But the problem is that more emails creates more noise, which means that it's harder to break through the noise, which means that after a brief period, moments of getting an uplift, you're then back to the same status quo, and everybody has to increase their output in order just to tread water. And the issue is that nobody has addressed the fundamental problem, which is that you're not reading my emails. And I think that the problem that we have with AI is that actually it's not artificial intelligence, it's artificial stupidity in most cases, AS. Because what's happening is that we're using ever increasingly powerful tools to shortcut the process of making bad decisions, because we haven't sat down initially and thought, actually, what is the problem that we are trying to solve? And what we know is that what we're doing isn't working. And it strikes me that with the overwhelming majority of businesses that I talk to, the solution for what they're doing not working seems to be, we'll do more of it, rather than we'll re-engineer what it is we're doing, and we'll ask fundamental questions about whether or not this activity is addressing the need and the problem and the challenge that we have to overcome. Because I don't think in most cases it is. And I think AI is going to compound the problem in the same way that email marketing lists, personalization of emails, and volume up of emails has further caused problems in the marketing arena.
Yeah, I like the thought that you're going down with that, though, Alex, in terms of the buyer seeking help from AI, or really anywhere, to identify their problems or solve their problems. The challenge is there are known unknowns and there are unknown unknowns. If I go out and seek to solve my problem, knowing that I have the problem, I presume there's a solution, but I don't know what that is. That's fine. But how can I possibly solve a problem I don't even know I have? And where does AI help with that? Whereas I know salespeople can proactively educate people about these previously to them unknown unknowns. So how could I go to a tool and say, tell me what problem I have that I don't even know I have?
Well, and Rob, I'm thinking of WebMD as an example of this, right? Because you go to WebMD, you have symptoms, and you can put in your symptoms, and it will say, maybe you have one of these things. One of them is like pancreatic cancer, and one of them is allergies, right?
Yep.
Like, so I know, like, on an increasing basis, AI is getting more information. So theoretically, it should be able to, quote unquote, diagnose a problem better. But I think it really, for me, it comes back to this challenge with the problem. Like, how are we actually truly identifying what a problem is? And one of the benefits I see in a human doing sales is that a human can ask a different set of questions with every person. I can listen, I can interpret, and AI will probably get to the point where it can do this. But right now, everything AI does is just based on the data that it has. And it doesn't, I mean, I haven't experienced it having an innate curiosity, whereas a salesperson who has an innate curiosity about solving someone's problem can ask targeted questions, can ask penetrating questions, and therefore there's a space for conversation where these things can be discovered instead of assuming that people know what their problem is. Because, I mean, all of us have worked in sales, right? How often do people know what their problem is? They're experiencing a symptom, right? Their symptom is that their funnel is empty. Okay, well, there's lots of things that could be causing that to happen. So let's look at that. Is it your processes? Is it how your people are interacting with your processes? Is it like how we're treating our people and how they're showing up to do their work? We've touched on all of these different things in different episodes of the Digital Download. There's a complexity to the conversation that I think when we look at like future versions of AI may do this differently, but current iterations of AI are based on, okay, I'm a business and this is the problem I solve. So I'm going to use GPT-4 to help people identify that they have this problem. But part of the process is me trying to convince people that they have that problem when I don't actually know that that's true. And the system I have might help you, but it also might be a bad fit for you. So where does that play into the conversation?
Well, interesting your choice of words when you were introducing that. You need to have an innate sense of curiosity. And I think that most people in sales and business have an inane sense of curiosity. So actually what they're doing is they're either seeking for validation for the solution that they know is right, or they're seeking for something which suits their own specific agenda. And their agenda, again, in my experience, is hardly ever actually solving the problem. And this is a major challenge, I think, that's facing businesses and indeed mankind at the moment, humankind, sorry, at the moment.
I was having a conversation with a web developer yesterday, and I was getting very frustrated with it because the question I was asking is like, what problem does the software solve, right? If I'm I can't retain my customers, or my funnel is empty, or like, what's the problem?
Means you can send out more newsletters.
It has all these features, right? And well, that's fine. Like, features aren't bad. Right? But like, why would I need those? Do I have a problem that the feature solves? Or is the feature a cool thing to have that if I have lots of money, I might pay for? I went to this session. So I was at this conference last week called Inventures, which is Calgary's like premier innovation conference. And I have my own experience, and you can see my LinkedIn post for what I felt about the conference as a whole. But I went to a session called How to Fall in Love with the Problem. And it was just so interesting because especially in the tech, and this expands to AI, people are fixing a problem that doesn't actually exist, right? So our problem is that not enough eyes are on our content. So we need to create more content. So I fixed the problem of creating more content. I can use AI to create a lot more content, except that's not the real problem. Like you said, Adam, it's not that I'm not sending out enough emails, it's that people aren't reading my emails. Creating more content is irrelevant if people aren't going to read your content, or the right people aren't going to read your content, or if the right people aren't going to read your content and then take an action based off of it. There's like, when it comes, this is I would love to hear the rest of the panel's experience on this, especially with software solutions. But my experience with software solutions is that we are making things easier. We're saving people time. These are the problems we're solving, but it doesn't actually address the root problem to why I'm spending time in the wrong places or why people aren't looking at my stuff.
Yeah, well, the problem it's solving is actually not the problem. That's the problem that you've created by solving the problem. So I need to sell my
I've
stuff.
created a new problem, and then I'm going to sell you that you have this problem.
But
it's
that's
like my experience with imposter syndrome. People created, everyone has self-doubt. But recently, in the past 3 years, the online industry has created the problem of imposter syndrome. So now there's a whole bunch of coaches who can help you with imposter syndrome, where really imposter syndrome is just self-doubt, and everybody has it. And sometimes you will, and sometimes you won't. And anyway, again, like my
some people, I'm reminded of what Winston Churchill said about, I think it was Clement Attlee many years ago. He said he's a very modest man and he has much to be modest about. And the point is that for many people, imposter syndrome actually is probably a good thing, because we've got an awful lot of would-be experts out there that are handing out advice which is poorly conceived and inaccurate in many cases. And I think that, your point about tech vendors, it's got this cool feature and it does this thing. The problem is you haven't got enough time to send out enough emails. So this helps you send out more emails. So it's a really valuable tool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is, except the problem isn't that I'm sending out too few emails. The problem is that the emails aren't being read. And those are not the same problem, even though they can be conflated to be broadly similar. They're not the same problem. And I think that this is the challenge, isn't it? Because when people are looking to solve problems that fundamentally impact their business, what they need to be doing is asking some uncomfortable and important questions about whether the hypothesis on which they have created the solution is in fact based on fact and what's really happening. And, when you guys know it better than anyone, when we coach people, one of the things that we do when we're teaching them how to write posts is to say to them, you're not the barometer for if it's a good or bad post, your audience is. So, I know for a fact I've written some of the best posts ever that have been completely ignored by everybody that's ever read them. So the reality is that irrespective of how factually correct the post is and how beautifully articulate the post is, if it hasn't landed, it's valueless. And this is the point, isn't it? If you've invested in doing something and you think you've done it really well, it takes quite a brave person to say, actually, that was a complete catastrophe.
Well, one of the things that comes up for me when you were sharing that, Adam, is that kind of going back to this concept of AI and its relationship with sales. I feel like for the past 60 years, to some degree, both marketing and sales as industries have been moving towards automation and away from people. The thing that builds relationships at the end of the day is a people-to-people interaction or relationship. And so especially when you're looking at, I think this is the thing that always comes up for me too. If I use this example all the time. If you're selling a bag of potato chips, right?
That's crisps to everybody on this side of the Atlantic.
Yes, crisps for our friends in the UK. If you're selling a small ticket product, there's lots of things that advertising can do that will allow you to do that. If you are selling an expert product, or more importantly, an expert service, people need to trust the people who are providing that service. You need to trust your consultant. You need to trust your coach. You need to trust somebody who's going to come in and do a digital transformation for your organization. And so who is building the relationship here? I was watching this, it's an old show now. It's called Castle. And there's like, he has this little AI pyramid that turns on the lights and makes his coffee and does all of these things. And the AI and his girlfriend are like at war with each other because they're competing for attention. But like, who's building the relationship here? Is AI building the relationship? If so, is the AI made to build a relationship? Has it been configured to do so, or has it been configured to sell? Because my experience of how these two things are experienced in the market is very different. I'm going to go through the process of qualifying you as a lead, and I'm going to qualify you on things based on your household income or your corporate revenue or how many employees you have, or all of these things that are very easily programmable into a system. But most of the time, the problem isn't actually related to those things. So now I feel like I just threw another wrench into the conversation, but
no, but I think you're right. You know, I think it's like from a sales perspective, without any shadow of a doubt, the most successful salespeople I have ever met have been the most personable salespeople. You know, so yes, you can qualify somebody and you can say, you're an ideal customer profile for me because you reach the income threshold that I need. You work in the kind of business, you have the kind of family, you have the kind of corporate headquarters, whatever it is that is the thing that qualifies you in. But actually, you don't like me. And that means the sale is never going to progress, no matter how ideal a customer fit you are. And I think that often it is these soft measures that are the really important measures. And I don't see any indication yet that AI can solve those. And
The
Mark's
book was
comment
called.
about,
Oh,
sorry,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say Mark's comment recently about he used AI to write my recent wedding anniversary card to the missus. So yes, that first one, he wrote it to, he used AI to write a product specification. And then he said, I also used AI to write my recent wedding anniversary card to the missus. Put it this way, AI put a smile on my wife's face. And I bet it wasn't because it was romantic. I bet it was absolutely because it wasn't romantic, because no matter how clever, the AI is, it actually misses the brief on these things that it can't understand, these things that are the very essence of being human.
But also, like, that's cool, Mark. Like, is that then AI building a relationship with your wife, or you building a relationship with your wife? And I think these are the struggles I have with a lot of the solutions. Is now it's saying, oh, it's easier for me to not do it, so I'm going to have AI do it. But then I don't actually really reap the rewards of having even like the personal reward of building that relationship. It makes me think of the movie Click. I don't know if anybody saw it. It's an Adam Sandler movie. It's like pretty old now, but the concept is he has this remote control that can help him skip things. So like he can skip through boring meetings. He can skip through the commercials. And it's
Mark's comment.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave that one. But like, I don't know. I feel like there's in relationship building in particular, there is a value that's created by doing the work. And if we're not going to do the work, then are we going to, like, let's just say you're building that relationship from scratch and you don't have 25 years of effort that you've put into building that. This is what we're talking about in terms of using AI for sales, right? I don't have a relationship with you. I don't have that I like AI and I'm testing these things, so I'm going to use it to create this. And you think it's funny because you know me, right? You don't know me, right? You only know the AI. So like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I think the point is people often make the mistake of using tech to scale and increase efficiency on the wrong bit of what it is they're trying to do. So, I'm going to use email marketing as an example, and I'm not bashing email marketing, but it's something which everybody kind of uses to a greater or lesser extent. I'm going to use email marketing to send more and more emails to people looking for the right customers. The problem is that the sentence is the wrong way around. You need to look for the right customers first and then try to develop a dialogue with them, rather than just trying to develop a dialogue with anybody. And the problem is that when we use tech to scale the wrong part of the process, what we end up with is a huge amount more noise and no increase in efficiency. And I think that that's fundamentally one of the things. And actually, that brings me on to the things that I was going to talk about. So if I share my screen, this is more about, let me just check that I've got this right. So hopefully, is that going to work?
That's sharing.
Whoa, yeah. So it'll be okay when I. No, you can go back to that.
All right.
Right. So here's an example of a post, and I think that to give this context, I and many of the people in our business use LinkedIn as our primary channel for most things that we do. So here's an example that I was exposed to today of Alex sharing the fact that he had just been awarded he passed his examination to be a DLA and ISP endorsed social seller. So he's looking very pleased with himself there, and got a huge amount of engagement on this post. And the USP here is not the fact that it's the exam, it's the fact that it's Alex having got the exam. And that's what's engaging his audience. So this is scaling him to his audience. And here we've got another post from Kate, who's a friend of mine. She's a florist. She only promotes her product. She lives in Grimsby, which is kind of northeast of England. And she only promotes her products on LinkedIn. And she sells everything she can possibly make to local people who are on LinkedIn and in the business community. And here's Mark, who was commenting just a moment ago, who's done a great post about hold on, how's this pronounced? He did write it down here. It's kind of Lagavulin, a rare, smoky Islay Scotch whiskey. And this is building community. You know, these people have a reason to be in touch with Mark because of his post now. He's not selling anything with his post. He's just reminding people that he exists and building some love in amongst his community. So, like Alex's post, I did this earlier today.
Handsome chap.
It was a handsome chap who had hair.
What's that on your head?
Yeah, well, indeed. No, but my point is, this was a lovely thing that happened to me as a direct result of social, and I've written about it in this post. I'm not selling other than selling the concept of people being more social on these communities. And I think that one of the key things that we often forget is that the purpose of this, the purpose of being on social, is to move closer to people. And the maximum number of touch points that we can have with those people is a really good thing. So, you know, Tracy, another great example of you talk about the fact you've been at an innovation session. You talk about the fact that you help people with their marketing. You talk about the fact that you're out with your son in the woods, you know, playing and running around with the dog and all of that stuff that makes people feel that they know you and they trust you and they like you. And does it mean that every post has a call to action? No. Does it mean that every post is going to generate revenue directly? No. Does it mean that every post is going to grow your influence in your network? No. What it does mean is that every time people go onto these networks, they see you and they see a facade of your personality and your life, which makes them feel that they know you better than they in fact do. So when it comes time to actually seek advice or buy from you, you seem like the obvious choice. You seem like somebody who I like. You seem like somebody who I can trust. And you seem like somebody that I'm not going to say, that's nice, Tracy, but will you do me a discount? All of those are key business things and problems that we have to address. And they're all being addressed just by you being on the platforms, being nice, being friendly, and engaging people. And it's that bit, the bit that you used to do, not you, Tracy, but the bit that we all used to do, going to Chamber of Commerce events, going to business breakfast networks, going to evening networking events, meeting people, shaking their hands. And you meet them for the first time, hello, what? And you meet them the second time and you go, oh, I can't remember your name, but you did something like, yes, that's right. Then you meet them again and again and again and again and again. And before you know it, they've become your accountant or your design agency or your solicitor or whatever it may be, because you're buying from those people because you know you trust them. The problem is that we can't do that in events anymore. And you can only eat so many breakfasts a week. The point of this is that you can talk to an infinite number of people as often as you want to talk to them. And that's where the win is. It's not scaling the sales funnel, it's scaling you out to a global audience. And when people get that, that's when it clicks. That's when they see the success, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
So the book isn't Zig Ziglar's How to Sell. It's how to win friends and influence people. It's been in the literature.
Boom, Dale Carnegie.
It's been out there. We just haven't been able to transition that to digital because the tools make it so easy to do those other steps in the process at scale.
Well, and I think this is the thing. So like I started playing on like the Calgary. So Calgary's airport code is YYC. So YYC Tech Slow Pitch League, because I was hankering for some kind of physical activity with the team. So I joined it, and I have these like bright pink, tall, like knee-high socks that I wear when I play baseball. And like I played competitive fastball, we always wore high socks, and I found these like bright pink ones, and I always wear them. And this week at our game, everyone was like, oh my God, I love your socks, right? And now I can go and talk to those people and be like, hey, remember me? I'm the person with the tall pink socks. And people are like, oh yeah, I totally remember you. And these are the things that, I mean, tall pink socks maybe doesn't directly translate to an online experience, but these are the types of things that people remember. Right? People remember me being in the woods with Nicholas or throwing rocks in the river. People remember that, like the number of people I know on LinkedIn who ask me what type of scones I'm making lately because I make scones, right? Like these are the things they know about me. And yes, it's also important for them to know what business you're in and what you're all about and the things that you care about. But it's the human things that make relationships sticky. And that's the thing I question whether AI can generate, right? That can generate that unless someone specifically programs it to be like, okay, specific version of AI, your tall pink socks. Make sure people know your tall pink socks. If it's just a program to answer questions, then it doesn't create that human connection.
It doesn't. And I'm minded of something that Seth Godin once said. And he said, the problem with marketers is that they break everything. And that's what's happened with email. And that's what's happened with pay-per-click. Because lazy, poorly targeted, poorly conceived communications make everybody tone deaf to everything that's going on. You know, so in the olden days, you used to have to spend 50p or 75 cents to send a letter to somebody with your brochure in it. And now you don't. Now you can send it for free. So the answer is that you don't send it to everybody. You send it to the people that you would have had to have paid 75p to. And the problem with AI is that what it's doing is the bot is going to go out there and it's going to identify who are the target and it's going to warm them up ready for you to have a conversation with them. So my question to everybody out there that's watching the show is, would you like to be warmed up for a sales call by a bot? And I suspect the answer is no, you wouldn't.
Well, and I think it's I had this experience the other day where I was like chatting with this lady on LinkedIn. And I was like, let's have a call, get to learn a little bit more about each other. And she was like, yeah. And I went through like her booking link and everything. And then when I showed up on the call, it was a different person. So-and-so isn't here today, but I'm here to give you a demo of our product software. And I'm like, even if I had wanted that, now my experience is a bait and switch. And I didn't come here for this today. I came here to have a chat with a person. And now I don't get to have a chat with a person. I get to have a product demo for something I didn't agree to have a product demo to. And it's similar when people use like the outsourced sales agencies, and it's similar when people use a chatbot to create these things, because I have no personal buy-in to completing that call, right?
Absolutely.
Like, oh, I booked this through AI. Meh, AI won't feel offended if I don't show.
Yeah, and it takes a while for the the feeling, the emotion to catch up. The exact same thing happened to me last week. This guy had actually worked really hard building a rapport on social media, doing a really good job actually, commenting on my posts. I agreed to have a call, and his boss was on the call. And it's like, where have you gone? Oh, he had an emergency. Okay. Was it a real scenario that's just happened to me?
You should have said, so I'm really glad that you're here, actually. Let me talk to you about my dogs. And you go, what are you talking about, man? I'm here to tell you about my email marketing software.
Yeah.
To which you say, no, that may be true, but I'm here to talk to you about my dogs. And that's the call that I was going to have.
Yeah. Now, something you said earlier, Adam, I wanted to come back to, which was...
says nobody normally.
Take it as a win, Adam.
I think you quoted Seth Godin about marketers break
everything. Yeah,
everything. I kind of having, and I know you're a marketer, Tracy, but having worked in MarTech for many years, I did find that many marketers understood the concept of being relationship first in their approach to marketing, and had a huge desire to use data effectively in order to provide differentiating experiences to their customers. But it wasn't, in fact, the marketer, it was the board or the CEO that was putting the marketer under pressure to say, we've just bought 100,000 items of X. We need to sell that next week. Send an email campaign.
I used to work in retail furniture, and that's literally what happened. The buyers would be like, we bought too much of this. Make sure you're promoted so we can sell all of it. And that's why things like TV advertising, digital advertising, radio ads, flyers exist, right? Because we've actually created our own problem, and now we're trying to get marketing to fix it. Creative, now go and fix this. So now, as a marketing resource, I'm spending all my time fixing the problems the organization has created instead of, and I had this experience at the retail furniture companies. I was in charge of direct marketing. To me, direct marketing is about figuring out what the people want and helping them get it. It's the marketing version of a one-on-one relationship versus advertising, the spray and pray method. Like, I'll tell everybody this and see who wants it. But I didn't get to spend my time, effort, and energy and budget on those things because I was too busy promoting the stuff that I had to promote, because that's how the business had built it. And so when I think about this concept of marketing breaking everything, I do think that there are people who want to build those relationships with people. But like me, like, I became so disenfranchised with the entire marketing industry because I'm like, has turned into being all about just like pushing things. And because we're too busy pushing things, we don't have time as marketing resources to actually have a conversation with the people. Heaven forbid that I host a grand opening of a store because I have to, because they built a store and now they want to sell stuff from it. And I don't have time to have conversations with the the clients or the people in the neighborhood to find out what they even need. And then this is what comes back to the original conversation we were having about the problem. Then we think the problem is that the marketing people don't have enough time to have the relationship. So let's use technology to build the relationships, because we know the importance
Isn't
of
the
the
problem
relationships.
in before that? So purchasing come in and they say, we've bought too much of this product, and now you've got to go and try and sell it to everybody, to which you should have responded, you bought too much of the product, you've got a problem then, mate. Because actually,
which is fine.
It's not my
theory.
problem. It's your problem. You know, you missed a client meeting. That's your problem. That's not my problem. Yeah, and actually, fundamentally, if marketers are effectively selling overstock out of the back of the van, that's a really bad place to be. You know, and it's a really bad place for both the marketer and for the business. But I think his comment about driven by pressure from the board. His comment was based on this idea that because you've now got an infinite and free distribution mechanism for your message, we'll just crank the handle faster. And actually, this is where the tech will come in, and it'll help me crank that. So instead of sending 100,000 emails a month, I'm going to send 100,000 emails an hour now, because I can. And nobody actually stops to ask the question whether or not they should. And this, you know, again, we use phrases like spray and pray. There's no incentive for you to invest any time in thinking if you can literally just scale the number of emails you're sending, because some of them will land. Of course they will. You know, if you send out 1 million emails an hour to people, some of them are going to land on your desk at exactly the moment that you think, I've got a problem, I'm looking for a solution. And then this comes in and you think, oh, serendipity, I'll buy this one because it happens to have landed at the exact same moment. But the reality is that that's neither sustainable nor an ethical way to behave.
And I think to me that speaks to the doing. Like AI is great at doing things, increasing the amount of things we can do. It is not great, at least to date. We're going to have a lot of AI conversations coming up, peeps. So make sure you come back to these weekly episodes. But it doesn't encourage us to think. It doesn't. So like, we're not thinking about what the actual problem is. Someone told us our problem is we're not sending enough emails. So now I'm going to buy a system that can help me send more emails. The problem is it's that system. They built that system to send more emails. So now what they're selling you from a marketing capacity is that your problem is that you're not sending enough emails. Here's the solution, because our system can do that. And it's not going to solve the problem.
No,
and it's not sustainable in the long term, because how many clients are you going to keep if you're solving a problem they don't have?
Yeah, and I think that again, you know, the challenge for marketing departments is that they have got a series of criteria that determine whether it's a high quality lead or a low quality lead, and they pass the high quality leads to sales, and sales say this is in fact a low quality lead because I thought this person wanted to talk to me and they don't want to talk to me. So marketing says, well, we just need to get more people in. Well, actually, you don't need to get more people. What you need to do is to get better leads in. So you need to qualify them differently. You know, so the fact that I downloaded a white paper is no indication that I might be interested in buying your product or service. None at all. Evidenced by the fact that most people that download a white paper don't end up wanting to buy your product or service. And actually, it comes back to that very first thing about, you know, this is about taking a totally agnostic view and not pointing the finger and saying, well, your marketing campaigns are no good because nobody wanted to buy, but to address that, okay, the marketing campaigns did not deliver any clients to us. Therefore, we need to rethink how we're having these conversations with people in a way that they are going to want to buy, not just simply crank the handle harder.
Yeah. And I think there's a really cool conversation happening in the chat about like what AI can support people in. And the thing that I'm picking up from it is that there's a relationship between humans and AI that needs to be explored. And there are ways that humans can use AI to empower themselves, not just in doing, so that we can do more, so we can have even less time to think about things, but that we can empower some things that AI can do that we can also do, but we free up our time to do the thinking by using AI, and then we can actually figure out Is this helping us? Is this not helping us? Letting go of the ego and saying like, oh, I tried to send more emails and more emails didn't fix my funnel. So don't stop doing that and try something else instead. Maybe that wasn't my problem. If we can actually use the AI to do the things, then free up the people so the people can do the thinking, I think there's a really great opportunity there. However, Diana is mentioning a skill gap in like the soft human skills. If people forgot how to think, then literally AI is going to kill sales. Because if sales just became about doing, not real sales, but what people consider sales. Like sales is just about doing tasks, and the more tasks I can do, that's what sales is about. AI can do that. Yeah, if that's what our interpretation of sales is, AI will absolutely kill sales. The thing is sales isn't actually that.
Mhm.
Good point.
Yeah.
So,
Rob,
in
you got
a
some content you want to
related
share?
note, I do. I came across a post that led to this bit of information. In short, Forrester has pivoted from sales enablement to revenue enablement because they recognize that enablement should not take place in silos, with sales doing one thing and marketing doing another, for example. My immediate reaction to this was to think about our recent digital download episode, the role of relationship building in go-to-market strategy, with our guest, Teresa Anderson. And in fact, I sent her a message about this post. On that episode of the digital download, we explored how marketing teams can support and empower sales teams while maintaining the brand's reputation and voice. We discussed the challenges of implementing a go-to-market strategy and breaking down silos between teams. And we also talked about ways to align marketing, sales, and client success teams for success in a real organization. In reading Forrester's reasoning behind their change, I found a lot of parallels. So I asked the panel, do you see this as a shift in practice or merely an excuse to print new business cards?
It sounds like a semantics change to me.
I think the trouble with things like this is it can very easily be a semantics change. We can call it revenue enablement and we can do absolutely nothing different at the organization. And in that case, it's irrelevant that we changed the phrase from sales enablement to revenue enablement. Theoretically, you could interpret sales enablement as if our entire organization is here to enable sales, which is true. If we can't sell anything, then like, what are we all doing here? Your role is different and my role is different, but we're here to enable the business to do business, right? So we can call it sales enablement or we call it revenue enablement. We could call it many things. It's like when quiet quitting became a thing and people were like, oh my God, this is a new problem. No, this is not a new problem. Literally, people have been doing this for years. You just came up with a new name for it. And the thing is nobody's doing anything about it, right? We came up with a cool name for it. We're all showing up and doing business exactly the same way. And we still have people who are quiet quitting, but we just thought it is what it is. New phrase. So I think it has the potential to help people realize that really a whole business is in existence to generate revenue. If we can't generate revenue, we can't pay our employees, we won't be able to do business and we will go out of business. So at the end of the day, everybody's job is revenue enablement. But if you don't have that mindset of the people in the organization, that it's my job here to do what I can do to enable revenue today, then like there's a huge mindset shift transformation that's required in business to actually bring that to life. You can't just bring it to life by creating a new phrase.
Yeah, I think
it's funny oh, go ahead, Alex.
Well, no, I was just going to say, back to the point I made about marketers and the challenge B2C marketers have had when wanting to develop a strategy that was right for the business to grow the business, but being put under so much pressure for short-term conversion. And it's that constant, I think, battle that the B2B industry is now in, and businesses are starting to think about revenue enablement as opposed to sales enablement. Because for me, the difference between sales enablement and revenue enablement is the fact that sales enablement is enabling the sales team to equip them to sell more effectively. Revenue enablement for me is more strategic. It spans sales and marketing and customer success and services and any other team within an organization that attributes or contributes to revenue. And that's really quite difficult to do across all of those different teams. So I can see why Forrester is going in this direction. It's a direction I think that successful businesses have done in the past. And now we're in this kind of B2B sales and marketing crisis where, pipeline is harder than ever to generate. New business conversations is harder than ever to generate. So why not change now? Why not use this opportunity to make that change? It's still businesses today are focused on the short term. Well, we need pipeline, we need revenue, and they're not willing to change the way that they're currently working to put relationships at the front of their revenue growth strategy. They say they do, but then it's, well, hang on, I'm speaking to someone. Let's get them. Let's do a demo.
So speed up our sales cycle. So close them faster.
So why are they not prepared to change?
I think
Who's that?
Businesses. I think it's because the old way of working is so systemic within their organization that spans so many different teams that they don't feel like they want to take that fight to the top to make the change.
Yeah.
So
and I actually think too, if we're going to talk about a shift from sales enablement to revenue enablement, then really shouldn't we be talking about profit enablement? Because what if we're just spending a whole shit ton of money generating this revenue and we're actually not making money at the end of the day? Because then we're going to have to do layoffs.
Earlier, Tracy, you were saying, call it sales enablement, call it revenue enablement, whatever. It's about enabling the organization to sell more. And Alex, you were saying, no, it's a strategic change. It's going from just working with the sales team to working across. In my experience, I've built up from scratch a sales enablement program at a couple of different tech companies now. And I always took the approach of, I don't care if you call me the sales trainer, sales enablement, revenue enablement, whatever. I'm reaching everywhere. My job is to make sure that everyone knows how we're going to market, and bringing that feedback back to the salespeople and out to the other departments. I even interacted with the engineering teams anytime I could. I wanted them to understand what their work looks like in the marketplace.
And I agree. I agree with that. Even support.
So I thought everyone did that.
Right.
I was at an event last night where we had a bunch of sales enablement people who are now revenue enablement people, by the way. It took less than 6 hours to make that transition. And what I heard was a lot of, we ask for permission, not beg for forgiveness. And that's the difference between the tactics and the strategy, I think. Having Forrester come out and say, this is what we are recommending to our clients. Now those that were doing sales enablement and thought, we should really be getting marketing involved more, or we should be getting client success. They have the cover, if you will, to go to their superiors and say, this is what we believe we should be doing. Again, I just did it and broke things. I guess I'm a marketer at heart, according to Seth Godin. But is that important? Is it important to have that coverage? How many seek forgiveness versus seek permission?
I think it needs to come from the top. I think the CEO or the C level need to be. Otherwise, if you're constantly, I mean, you may have been particularly good at it, Rob, but if you're constantly begging
I am.
for forgiveness, then the political, challenges, you're going to bump into those, and you'll never, I can't imagine you'll ever have a fully aligned organization on that revenue growth strategy.
Yeah, this feels like a culture thing to me, right? Like if you have a culture of experimenting and saying like, literally, we all exist here to contribute to the business. So not only are we going to make it clear to you how you're contributing to the business, but we need you to do that. Otherwise, we can't enable revenue. All of these pieces of the puzzle are important, but how many times, I'm sure all of us have worked in organizations, I definitely have, where there's people there who are not contributing to revenue generation. But we need to have like 6 marketing coordinators. Do we? And then there's like, yes, we want to create jobs, but we want to create jobs where people are doing things that matter. And when you get into, as your organization grows and grows, there's more opportunity for you to create roles for people that don't matter to the organization. And then we get into the quiet quitting problem, right? No one actually cares if I'm here doing this work. So like, what does it matter?
I mean, Alex and I worked for a company together, and I would imagine that 25% of the people there did 100% of the lifting. And, there were a huge number of people that were very well compensated for understanding the political game and how to get paid within the organization. And I think that many people saw their job as navigating the politics rather than adding value to the organization and or the client. And I think
that's got to be a culture thing though, right? Because either we're going to hold people to that and say, this person isn't contributing to the organization, yet they're making a 6-figure salary. Like, what's up with that? Let's ask the question. Maybe there's a way that person could contribute to the organization. And honestly, this is why I like working with small businesses, because it's a lot easier to see people.
Lots of those people could contribute best to the organization by leaving.
But then we get, and that's the thing, right? Then like, what are we actually doing? Like if you're a big organization and you are keeping those people because they're good at playing the political game, you are not doing revenue enablement. And these are the things that you have to be able to then like stand up and say and be like, okay, we are too big to care about revenue enablement. Okay, that's fine, right? You're $1 billion company.
Last week we were talking about this, and Tim said he ran a sales team and there were 66 people in the sales team. 7 of them did more than 100% of their number, and the rest of them did 60% or less. But that was enough for the team to make their team number. And it does beg the question that within any organization, actually, if I'm going to set you an expectation and expect you to meet the expectation, there should be a consequence for not meeting the expectation. That doesn't mean that, this week you haven't sold enough stuff, so you're fired. But actually, you can't keep having some people carrying others on their backs.
But have you been enabled to meet that expectation?
Yes, that will be the problem. Hold on. Yeah, get Rob Durant. He's the guy you need. He's the best.
And that's exactly the problem, right? Is that we'll say, like, we're going to focus on revenue, like on revenue enablement, but we're not going to look at how many roles or how many people in this organization aren't directly tied to revenue enablement. And how are we going to hold people accountable?
This reminds me of, so JFK in the 60s said, we're going to put a man on the moon within this decade. And he said to NASA, that's your job. You've got to put a man on the moon. And I don't know if it was JFK, but somebody doing a tour of NASA said to a guy who'd just been to the lavatory. He said to the guy, "Oh, what you guy cleaning the toilets?" He said, "Oh, what are you up to?" He said, "Oh, I'm putting a man on the moon." So, everybody contributes to the ultimate goal. I think part of this, to your point, Tracy, is making sure those roles and those responsibilities are defined and people feel empowered to contribute, even though it's not directly putting revenue in the company's pockets, it's contributing towards that goal.
Absolutely. That brings us to the top of the hour. And for those that were watching through the LinkedIn Live event, we've been cut off. So at this point, what I'd like to do is wrap it up by just saying thank you to the panelists. Thank you very much to the audience. Very lively discussion today. Great exchange there. And that concludes another edition of the Digital Download. We look forward to hosting you again next week. Goodbye, all.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.